Hi everyone, my name's Joanna Joy, and today I'm going to be giving you some tips on shamanic journeying, how to get a good journey, a clear journey, and how to avoid some of the pitfalls that can stop you from getting a good quality shamanic journey. So the first thing that I like to do is to create myself some sacred time and sacred space. Now, depending on your situation, your environment, your home logistics, or wherever it is that you're doing this, you can really adjust this to suit your own space, your own needs and your own environment. So when I'm at work, for example, when I'm preparing myself and my space to do one-to-one client work, then I will always smudge the space. I will burn sage and other herbs to clear and cleanse the space that I'm using. I will also set up a crystal grid, which for me, crystal grids help to empower anything that is within the space of the grid. So I always set up a crystal grid because it makes everything that I do in that space much more powerful. But you can create your own sacred time and sacred space in whatever way you want. Sometimes I will do a shamanic journey at night time when everybody else has gone to sleep and I'm the only one awake, and I'll be in bed surrounded by my children, and then I might do a shamanic journey then, in which case I just drop myself into a place where I am opening to the sacred, really. So creating sacred time and space doesn't have to be a logistical process. It can just be as simple as putting yourself into the space where you are opening yourself to spirit. So that's the first thing that I always do. Then the next thing that can be really helpful, again depending on what time of day it is and how light it is, you may want to use one of those eye masks that cover your eyes. You know, the kind that you get on long-haul aeroplane flights. That can be very helpful for blocking out the light, or you can use some other kind of bandana or blindfold. So if you're journeying in a space where there is light, or maybe it's daytime, that can be really, really useful, because too much light can interfere with what you're seeing here in your mind's eye, in your third eye. So that's another thing that can be useful, that you can put on your kit list of things to buy or make. On a course that I ran recently, we made our own masks, and we made them we made cat masks. So they were made of fluffy black fake fur, and we stitched eyes onto them. So they're great. We all put our cat masks on to do our journeying in that particular workshop. So you can make your own if you want to. The next thing that is very useful to have in your kit list for doing good shamanic journeying is a drumming soundtrack. Now, if you are more experienced at journeying and at drumming, then you may want to drum for yourself, in which case you'll need a drum and a space where you're not going to be disturbed, that you can drum your own journey. But for many people, they don't want to do the drumming while they're journeying, in which case you can use a drumming soundtrack. And these, you can get drumming soundtracks on YouTube. I know Michael Harner has done a good one. He does 15-minute, 30-minute, half an hour and hour-long drum journeys. And very soon you will be getting a drum journey from me, so that you can do drumming journeys that I have drummed for you. So having a drum journey is very helpful, and it can be, rather than listening to it on speakers, it can be much better if you use earphones or headphones, because you get a better quality of sound when you're listening to it. So that's another thing to put on your kit list, is earphones or headphones, and to sort yourself out or find a good drumming sequence that you can use. The next thing that I want to talk about is how you experience your journey. Now, lots of people have the assumption or the idea that a shamanic journey, a bit like a meditation, has to be this technicolor, visual extravaganza where you see things as if it's on a cinema screen. My experience of shamanic journeying is very far from that. Very occasionally I have those beautiful technicolor journeys, but really that's not the norm for me. And when I first started using visualization in my healing work, which was before I learned to shamanically journey, I would see black upon black and shadows of black. It was really not that inspiring. And at first I thought, oh no, I'm not going to be able to do this visualization work. I'm going to be a failure and I won't be able to do it. And what I started to realize was that we have this idea that visions and visualizations have to be visual. You know, it's in the name, isn't it? That it's a vision or a visualization. But actually, it really isn't always to do with seeing things. You can have a journey which is that you can experience in your body. You might have sensations. That's often how I experience my journeys, is I will feel sensations moving through my body. I will feel energy waves moving through my body, or things coming in or things going out. And for other people, they receive information through their ears in a very auditory way. For other people, you know, the information just drops into your being. It's just downloaded into your consciousness, and it may not be seen or heard, but you just know it. You just know it. And that's often how I receive my information through journeys. Is I might see, for example, a shadowy form which I go, oh, it's a shark. Is it a shark? It looks like a bit like a shark to me. But then I'll get information about why that animal has come and what its gift is, and it probably aligns with the shark. You know, or I will see a vague image of, I don't know, it could be an eagle, for example, and I might and ah for a bit. Is it eagle? Is it condor? Is it some other kind of bird? Is it an angel? But actually, normally your first instinct is the correct one, because you've received information about what it is rather than trying to identify it from what you can see. So I always go with the first instinct with these things generally. I tend to find that that's usually what's correct. So yeah, and the other thing that I'd like to say is try not to expect too much of your journeys. I think when you first start out, it's easy to have these great expectations of having a, you know, transcendental spiritual experience. And believe me, shamanic journeys really can bring you that. But it's not every time. And when you first start journeying, sometimes it takes a bit of practice to get in the flow with it, to get your groove on. So somebody asked me the question recently, how do you stop your mind from wandering and getting distracted about what you're going to have for dinner tonight or what you're going to be doing later? And distraction, I think, is a really interesting topic for any kind of spiritual visioning work, whether it's shamanic journeying or meditation or Reiki healing, whatever it might be. When you are trying to focus your awareness, your concentration, it can be very hard if you're not used to holding a focus for a long time. And again, I think this is something that comes with practice, and trying to keep your focus on something. For me, it's easier if I do the creating sacred time and sacred space bit first, because what that does for me is it drops me into a place where I'm letting go of the thoughts about what I'm having for dinner. I'm letting go of the thoughts about what I'm doing this evening or tomorrow, or the list of jobs that I have to do when I get home. Because by creating sacred space, you're effectively boundarying off time. You're boundarying off what you are doing, and you are giving yourself permission to have this as a sacred moment. So I think when we get distracted, it's often because we feel like we ought to be doing something else. There's almost like a duty there that we should be being productive members of society, or doing the chores at home, or whatever it might be. And actually, I think stepping into sacred time and sacred space is about allowing ourselves to have sacred moments where we can both connect into ourselves very deeply, into our deeper levels of awareness and consciousness, as well as connecting to the great mystery. Other things that can help me not to get distracted are really focusing on what I'm seeing in the journey and participating within it as well. So having a shamanic journey is not just a one-way experience. You're not just watching the journey as if it's a TV program or a film. you are an active participator within the journey. So the information that's coming to you through that journey, through the spiritual source that you're connecting to, is, you can have a two-way conversation with it. If you're seeing a bear come strolling in, don't just watch it, talk to it, have a conversation with it, ask it why it's there, ask it if it has any gifts to bring you, or knowledge, or teachings, or wisdom. So being an active participator in the journey, I think, is probably the most useful thing to not get distracted onto other things. That said, sometimes my allies will turn up and they will let me know that there's a job to do, and then they'll just go off and do it and leave me sitting here, and I'll be kind of like twiddling my thumbs wondering when they're going to come back. So sometimes you just have to kind of try and be present with the journey, even if there's not a lot happening in it at that moment in time, until your spiritual allies come back and either show you what they've been doing or bring you, sometimes in the situation of soul retrieval, they will go off and they will get the soul pieces and they'll bring them back, and I won't know where they've got them from. They don't tell me these things, not always. Sometimes they do, but not always. So yeah, I think it takes practice with being present, and this is another thing that people that meditate say as well. Being able to be present with your experience is hard, and it takes practice, and it takes focus. Is there anything else that I want to say about that? No, I think that's it for now. So, okay, I'm going to move on now to talk about the things that can really stop you having a good journey. Oh, I know, there was one more thing. The other thing that's very, very important to emphasize when you do a shamanic journey is to have a very clear intention. To start off, sometimes it can help you to write that intention down so that it's really clear for you. And when you begin the journey, it's a bit of a tradition within core shamanic journeying is to repeat that intention 3 times. And again, this is both to crystallize and clarify your intent. It's also it's clarification for yourself, but it's also clarification for the realm of spirit as to what you are trying to achieve for that journey. If you've got a woolly intention, you're not that clear on it, or quite often when I'm repeating the intention for my journeys, by the 3rd time I will have refined it a bit. I'll have kind of pinned it down a bit further and brought it to a more condensed form. And so then I'll repeat that condensed form 3 times to just make sure that it's really clear. If you don't have that clarity, your journey often doesn't give you a clear answer to whatever you're journeying for. So yeah, the things that can hinder a shamanic journey. The first one is being tired. So quite often if I try and journey at night time when everything's quiet in my home and my children have gone to sleep, I won't get a very good journey because I'm too tired. So it's better for me, especially if I'm journeying for my clients, for example. I do that at the beginning of my day. So for me, I start work at 12 o'clock midday, and I will only accept distance healing clients between 12 and 3:30, because I know that if I go any further into the day, I get an energy dip round about 4 or 5 o'clock, and I know that if I try and shamanically journey at that time where my natural energy low is in the middle of the day, then I won't get a very good journey. The other thing that can hinder shamanic journeying is if your overall energy levels are low. So if, for example, you have any kind of chronic or acute illness, then it can be more difficult to journey. If you have other factors which are really lowering your energy, then it can be much more difficult to journey. For example, when I was pregnant with all of my children, I couldn't journey. It was almost like spirit had shut off my cinema screen, and they just said, no, you're not doing that at the moment. Your energy is needed elsewhere, actually, because it does take energy, I find, to do shamanic journeys. And while you do get energy back from that, you require a good level of energy to be able to journey effectively. So for the 3 pregnancies that I had, I did very little journeying through that time, and I had to find other ways of doing my shamanic healing work that didn't require me to journey. If this is the situation and you're finding it really hard to journey, and you think it might be because your energy levels are too low, then I would recommend you see an energy practitioner so that you can raise your energy levels. So my clients that I work with, if they are routinely giving me scores, when I see clients, I will go through a list of questions and I'll ask them to give me scores of how they're feeling, 1 out of 10. Between 1 and 10, and if they're giving me anywhere 6s and below, I know that their energy levels are not high enough probably to be journeying, in which case I'll recommend a course of Reiki, because Reiki is just brilliant, fabulous for bringing people's energy levels up. It's topping the batteries up really. So that's what I would recommend, a course of energetic restoration treatment. So you can do that through Reiki or Shiatsu, acupuncture. All of these vibrational healing practices should be able to raise your energy levels if you need to. The other things that can really hinder our ability to have a good quality shamanic journey are drinking alcohol and also eating meat. And so drinking alcohol really, it dulls your energy field. It lowers your vibration. So I find that even if I just have a bottle of beer, for example, the next day I won't be able to journey. So when I know that I have journeying to do for clients, for example, at work, I make sure that I don't drink for at least 24 hours, if not 48 hours beforehand. So if you want to get a good quality journey, lay off the sauce for a bit. And also meat as well does the same thing. You know, eating meat, again, lowers your vibratory level. It makes you vibrate slower. And, you know, I do eat meat, but I don't eat meat before I journey. And so I'm selective with when and how I choose to put things into my body according to what I need to do in an energetic capacity. So again, if you're wanting to get a good quality journey, avoid alcohol, avoid meat for 12, 24, 48 hours, whatever you can logistically manage. Those will help you to get a better quality journey. I think that's about it for now. So I hope those tips have been helpful for you, and I will talk to you again soon. If you would like any more help or guidance or advice or anything in relation to shamanic healing, then I would encourage you to go to my YouTube channel, Joanna Joy, and check out my videos there. You can subscribe to my channel if you'd like to. And if you are interested in shamanic womb healing, then come and join my free Facebook group, which you can come and get involved in discussions, and there's all sorts of information. There's a really good strong sisterhood there. We support each other and explore the realms of what it is to be a woman, and hopefully heal some of the wounds that we've gained from being a woman. Okay, I'm going to go now. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye bye.